Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is our Symbaroum Symposium, also known as a Sim here with the community. For June 2022, it's a big release day for Symbaroum as Ruins of Symbaroum 5e has finally been released. We've got a whole new group of players that will hopefully be excited about this, or I know that they'll be excited for this setting for their 5e system. Before we begin, I just want to say that if you're interested in anything that we talk about today, the Ruins of Symbaroum 5e is available in the description below. Just click on the link, or you can just ask your friendly local game store to stock it as well. You can stock Ruins of Symbaroum 5e and just the standard Symbaroum game as well. Also, if you enjoy these community get-togethers on these Sims, hit that like button down below and let us know. And if you appreciate Mattias giving his time to come on and interact with the community here, we also hit that subscribe button as well if you haven't already. And would love to use this platform to connect with everyone and make sure everyone realizes how much we appreciate them. All right. Without further ado, let's bring on the person that you're really excited to speak to, as well as I am as well, just because I haven't talked to him in quite a while. The one and only Mattias. Mattias, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, what an introduction!
Hey,
I'm blushing.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've been doing this. You're a very busy man. You've had this whole Ruins of Symbaroum line that it's not just one book. There are multiple items that you had to kind of release with this.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprise. Ending up in the middle of project management for a whole new, not game line. I mean, you who are familiar with Symbaroum will recognize a lot when flipping through these new books. In fact, most of it except some stat blocks and whatnot. But yeah, just towing this boat to shore has taken a little bit of time and energy.
Well, I'll just let everyone know that we will talk a little bit about Ruins of Symbaroum. We'll talk about the base, the core Symbaroum game, and then we'll leave some time at the end for community questions. So if you have any questions for Mattias, just leave them in the chat. We'll try to get to them. We've got about 45 minutes planned here on this broadcast to go over everything. But first, like I said, let's talk about Ruins of Symbaroum before we get too started. Before we get too far into it. Mattias, is Ruins of Symbaroum something that you always kind of had in the back of your brain while you were putting out Symbaroum, like originally? Is this something that you were like, you know what, I'm making this RPG. This is really cool. Like I would love to do a 5e version of this alongside the regular Symbaroum brand. Or is this something that kind of you just got feedback from the community and you were like, oh, there's enough demand here. Maybe I should do something like another line, like a 5e version of this. I was just kind of curious as to how Ruins of Symbaroum came along for you.
Yeah, actually, this was way back when it wasn't 5e; it was D20.
Right.
So we actually, long before the merger, we had discussions in Järnringen about making using the D20 OGL to produce a conversion and try to reach a wider audience, not least to drum up the interest in the Symbaroum setting itself and the Symbaroum brand, because compared to a lot of our other games, Symbaroum is an original brand, and building a brand from scratch in a small, niche hobby like role-playing games, it has its challenges. So yeah, the discussion started pretty early, but way back then, I must admit that even if I always agree that it's a good idea, it hasn't been the biggest, most important part of our venture. It hasn't been that for me because I'm not such an avid 5e player. I do play 5e. I play it, but mainly because my colleague Mattias Lilja is a huge D&D fan and 5e fan as well. So and I mean, you who know both 5e and the Symbaroum system, you can see a little bit of hints here and there, not only to 5e but to earlier versions of the D20 and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. Sure. So Mattias Lilja has always been sort of the champion for this project and idea. And after the merger, the other guys also thought it was a good idea. And I must say the decision maybe was made when we also knew that we were going to do the One Ring and then the
Adventures
adaptation.
Yep.
Yeah, you had Adventures in Middle-earth as a bright shining example of what can be done in terms of conversions to this other system. So that was a long answer on I could have just answered yes.
No, it's good. It's good. But, yeah, you see like some of these popular, IPs that have been able to convert their systems over to a 5e system and be very, very successful. So I was just wondering, that was kind of one question I had in the back of my mind. You've mentioned Mattias Lilja as part of one of the key components of getting this Ruins of Symbaroum line in existence and everything. Is there anybody else you would like to mention that played a key role in getting this this Ruins of Symbaroum line out for the Symbaroum brand?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
First and foremost, and maybe you are with us right now, Jacob. If so, you can leave a comment. But Jacob Rogers have been instrumental and crucial for this to work. Sure. And thanks to Francesco Nepitello, the designer behind the One Ring, we got to know Jacob, and it's been a very nice friendship that I hope will keep growing. Do you know who's going to tag along with us to Gen Con?
I heard, yes. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited for that.
So that is going to be super. I don't believe we have ever met physically, but during the last 12 or so months, I have spoken to him quite a lot.
That's great. Isn't it great?
Especially since, because Mattias Lilja went back to his. They missed him so much at his former job, so he was convinced to go back. And otherwise he would have been pulling a lot of the weight on this project, and you would, spoiler for the discussions to come, you would probably have seen the final part of the Throne of Thorns sooner than you will.
All right. So this is a 5e product. Let's talk a little bit about what does Ruins of Symbaroum do, or what does it give players that, because we've seen a whole bunch of 5e games, even put out by the big head honchos that put out the main line, and they've got all sorts of different settings, and we've seen other settings. What does Symbaroum bring to the table that 5e players aren't going to get somewhere else?
I'm not exactly the right person to answer this, because I don't have a full view of all the 5e products out there. I mean, there are a lot. So I guess I just have to go with the reaction we've gotten so far, and also based on the discussions I had with Jacob. With Ruins of Symbaroum 5e, you get the full mass of the Symbaroum lore and setting. And as you well know, it is a world with, even if it's geographically limited in its scope, it has a ton of new nuances and contrasts, and goes in in depth with all the with the history of the setting, but also with the conflicts and factions that are now struggling for power and influence in Ambria, the kingdom of Ambria, and also in the forest of Davokar. So that is one thing that you get, obviously. The other thing is that we have, or I should say, Jacob has, with skill and finesse, created some or designed some new rules that you can bring to the table, and I mean, you can bring those into your 5e game, whether you're playing in the world of Symbaroum or not. And what these rules, the biggest contributions, I would say, to the rule set in general, are the new resting mechanics, which makes it much more difficult to recover hit dice, for one thing. And what this means is that, for instance, if you are on a 2-week hike into the forest of Davokar, we didn't want to have a rest mechanic that, you fight the monster one day, you go to bed and sleep at night, and then you wake up fully rested and without any damage, and so on.
Yeah.
So we even if the combat mechanics are much the same as in the original, according to the SDR, this little but super important addition to the rules, what is called extended rests. That means that you need to find a place which is safe to rest and relax for a couple of days before you really get some return in form of hit dice and so on. It has made a huge impact on the feel of the game. It is still not as, fast-paced and gritty and deadly as your original Symbaroum system.
Sure.
But still, this is not supposed to mimic this original Symbaroum system. We have the original Symbaroum game for that. This is, this is for the 5e crowd to get a near Symbaroum sense when they play at the table. So the other important addition is the corruption mechanic, and not to go into it too deeply, it primarily, or one of its big impacts, is how magic and mystics are handled within the 5e framework. For instance, you have no spell slots in Symbaroum.
Okay.
You have, as a wizard or as a witch of a certain level, a certain amount of cantrips and spells on different levels, and you can cast them freely. You don't have to memorize them, as it were. But you gain corruption when casting magic. So even if it's not exactly the same and maybe a little bit less damaging than in the original system, you get that risk and reward kind of tactics when you are a mystic. Do I dare to cast another spell? Do I dare to cast it on this level, or should I settle for casting it at a lower level? Because just like in the original game, you will amass corruption, both temporary and permanent, and you are always at risk of becoming black marked and in the end thoroughly corrupt and transformed into something abominable.
Excellent. Let's just take just a few more minutes just to talk about the product line itself. Ruins of Symbaroum has 3 books. You've got a player's guide, a game master's guide, and a bestiary. They're beefy books, just like
they
most of the books that we put out. They're nice books. I've got a copy of each right here. Again,
just so that people don't get confused. The covers you have there for the Bestiary and the Game Master's Guide were the ones developed for that one. Martin has since worked on them a little bit, so now the Bestiary looks like this instead.
Yeah, it's not quite, it's pulled
not exactly
out a little
the
bit.
same.
Yeah.
Anyway, we in the 5e tradition, we felt it reasonable because we already have the material. We felt it reasonable to start off with the base set, the Player's Guide, the Game Master's Guide, and the Bestiary. I must say, I'm so super happy with how it turned out. Super happy with the books, and it seems like they have landed pretty well in the 5e community, I must say.
I do love how you open them up, and of course, if folks are familiar with the regular, normal, I guess normal or original Symbaroum, they definitely have that feel. Like you've definitely brought that over to these Ruins of Symbaroum books. So it definitely kept that Symbaroum brand and look for these books, which is awesome. Again, some really amazing art in these books. Is there new art at all in some of these books, or is it all just art that you've used for?
Not much. There were a few approaches, subclasses, if you want, that we didn't have original art for. So I believe Martin has produced like 3 or 4 new what do you call it? Yeah, figures or person pictures.
Okay.
Pictures. Yeah. Now my limits in the English language are showing here. No, anyway, and so there are a few new ones, but most you who regularly play Symbaroum will recognize almost all the art. Yeah.
Excellent. Like I said, if you are interested in picking this up, the Ruins of Symbaroum, if you've got 5e players that you play regularly with, you can check it out on our Free League web store. It is available. There are you can pick up all 3 books, even the GM screen and the Foundry modules as well, which is really, really awesome to see that come out. Because was that a stretch goal for the Kickstarter?
Yeah,
the Foundry. Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah, and we have started doing that with almost all our. I mean, sometimes when we work on a licensed game, the license owner may have objections to producing that kind of modules for virtual tabletops. But when we can, and that is something, I mean, we are focused right now on Foundry and have a really good collaboration with them, but you will see more of all our games, I would say, on Roll20 and on Fantasy Grounds and maybe other platforms as well going forward.
Excellent. All right, so we've talked about Ruins of Symbaroum. Let's talk a little bit about the future of the main Symbaroum line. In fact, there's already been a few questions in the chat before we even went live. People are asking about the sixth book.
Yeah.
And is there anything you can maybe tease a little bit?
I want to start by formally apologizing, actually. And I say it with a smile, but I'm super serious to the community, because when we announced the Ruins of Symbaroum for 5e, I was very clear that this would not impact the release tempo or momentum of the original game line. As it turned out, as I just said a moment ago, that I lost my co-worker Mattias Lilja to another job. I had to step in, and that has meant that the Davokar Awakens Part 6 in the Throne of Thorns will come out later than I wanted and hoped. So that is just the way it is. I am right now, I would say 90, maybe 92% done with the draft, the first version of the manuscript for this epic finale. And when I say a manuscript or draft, I tend to work and rework stuff all the time. So when I'm at 100%, I am very close to sending into translation. So yeah, timeline wise, it is super difficult. My absolute aim is that we will have at least an alpha PDF ready so that we can do a pre-order later this year. I turned 50 this year, Doug.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, in
You
December.
said what? You say 40? You said you turned 40? 40 this year?
Yeah, I'm holding up pretty good, aren't
You
I?
are. Holy
Anyway.
smoke! I wouldn't guess it at 50.
My absolute aim, I have this target that I want to have the whole Throne of Thorns campaign or chronicle out there before I turn 50. That would mean, I know it's kind of silly this, but that would actually mean something to me.
Sure. That's
so
I
that's the
that, yeah.
absolute aim. But then, it's not only me and my manuscript, or not even only me and my good friend and translator Niklas. We also need the art, the maps, the layout, and then there's printing. And I'm unfortunately pretty sure that we won't see any physical books until first quarter next year.
Sure.
Because it takes so much time today, the printing and shipping circus.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, that's the reality we are in, so we have to adapt. And it's actually also getting better and better. During the second half of the pandemic, it was at its worst. Sorry. Right. Slowly but surely, we are seeing the circus become less of a circus.
Good. That's good to hear. I know a lot of for a while there were a lot of folks that were impacted, and there's still folks that are impacted, but it's nice to hear that there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, so that is something that you're planning on doing as a pre-order for the community and have Absolutely. It available. And like we've had Thomas on previously, and he said that one of Free League's goals is to always, whenever we offer a pre-order system, to make a PDF available, pretty much as soon as the pre-order is placed.
Yes.
And so that's the goal for this.
And almost always we're talking then an alpha PDF,
sure.
Meaning that we feel more or less finished, right. But there is still time for the community to read and react and help us find, polish, make that little, make the product really shine.
Nice.
I mean, I think. No, Alberitor is the first one that we did a pre-order. We didn't kickstart it. And I can say to you, first and foremost, there is such a big community around Symbaroum now. So a pre-order works very, very well.
Nice.
The downside with the Kickstarter is also all the stretch goals. That more or less means that you postpone the release of the products even more, because you may want to write a couple of more adventures that then need maps and some illustrations and layout and so on. So no, whenever possible, and we will see that with many of our games going forth, we will lean more and more towards pre-orders. The newer games will probably see a little bit of Kickstarters. And Alien, we have never Kickstarted. and it
does all right.
does it right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Couldn't have put it better myself. Yeah, it does all right.
Hopefully Drew sees this video, and I'm sure I might get a direct get a message from him at some point. But yeah, he's doing the whole team that's putting out the Alien line. They're doing a phenomenal job. Yeah, so that's exciting. Do you want to get to some community questions? I think
shoot.
Some people. The first question is from Shanika White. It says, "Hi Mattias, if you could make your dream Symbaroum dice, what would they be or look like, and would you make them as an add-on for the next Symbaroum Kickstarter, or maybe even a pre-order, or the 1.5 re-release?" Let's do the dice question first, and then we can address the 1.5 comment.
The dice, yeah. I actually did have we did a Kickstarter for, if it was the Monster Codex or Yndaros the Rocket Star or whatever it was, where we had dice as a stretch goal. We had to retract that and instead offer up Adventure Pack 3, a full cover book to cover our mistakes when we learned how much it would cost to produce the dice we actually wanted for Symbaroum. So that said, I think this is so hard. I'm a traditionalist in the sense that I love simple, pretty plain dice with, function over style. So if they are too glossy or they are too elaborate or whatever, it may be hard to read the numbers. And me, I'm old. I turn 50 soon. I can hardly see the numbers if the light is dim. So
it keeps coming through as 50, Mattias. I don't know. I think it's supposed to be 40, right?
Okay. Anyway, no. I don't know. Wooden dice. What?
Oh, that would be neat. Yeah.
But then someone like me would say that because if it were wooden dice, we would like some really tough and sturdy type of tree, like teak or something. But they are all like in the rainforest, so we don't want to cut them down.
Right.
that would cause a lot of corruption.
Yep.
So very, very hard.
Some sort of petrified wood dice. That would be pretty neat.
That would be cool. Oh, like the ones that area just east of the ruined city of Symbar.
Right.
You have this area which is almost dead, and all the trees that are left are basically stone. Those.
There you go.
Yeah.
So then the end part of this question is, or even the 1.5 re-release. You want to address that? I don't.
I think I know what is referred to. Yeah, we have said it before that we are pondering the possibility of making a soft second edition or a 1.5, mainly so much material has been produced since the launch. I mean, Symbaroum is going on 8 years old and 6 years old internationally, the English version. So and it's we have information scattered in various books, and I don't know, today a lot of the stuff that we have in the advanced players guide maybe would fit just as well in a combined core book, players guide, kind of core book. So that is one thing that we are definitely planning to do, but I cannot confirm when it will be or if it will be a Kickstarter. It would maybe softer than that, but in my mind, it is not something that will happen super soon. I mean, we have the 10-year anniversary of Symbaroum coming up. In the English language, it will be in, depending how you count, 2025 or 2026. So maybe by that time, sometimes in the middle of this decade.
Sure.
And exactly how it will look. I mean, we will, when and if and this is done, it will also, even if we have done a few tweaks along the way, we are still looking at the first iteration of a original system with Symbaroum, meaning that there are stuff that we want to address, and we will definitely involve the community when we get there, when we start to looking at, you know, balance, not necessarily making the game super balanced, because that has never been if you want a super balanced game, or at least a game that strives to be super balanced, you can play the 5e version. Honestly, Symbaroum is fun over balance, I would say, and it will keep be that way. But there are some things that we probably will look into.
So you could say it's more of like a streamlining of products, maybe taking existing products and combining them, and maybe reformatting and readdressing some of the content that is in the book more than anything.
Not only that, because another thing is that, I mean, the saga of the Throne of Thorns is soon actually at an end.
Sure.
Feels strange to say it. I've been living it for 8 years, but when it is done, it is definitely designed in a way so that your players will have a very huge impact on what happens to the Davokar region.
Nice.
When the dust settles.
Yeah.
If the dust settles. And that means that we will start looking at other parts of the continent where you find the Davokar region. So in a 1.5 re-release, we will see a new campaign material. And if we go for the traditional route to maybe, you know, walk to higher grounds and look down over a bigger area, you know, maybe focusing on a little more a wider gaze of the game world, so to speak, in the core book. Or another option is that this new core book will focus on another area on the continent. My bet is, I've said that before, I am very curious to learn more about the city-states, for instance, in the West. So and that is not decided yet. Then we will have the Davokar region, and the chronicle will of course live on for newcomers to the game, and for everyone else to replay it with new gaming groups. I don't know how many times there are, you know, these big campaigns like Enemy Within and several of the Cthulhu ones, and also the you know, Erik Granström, the writer behind Ravenland and the setting of Forbidden Lands, basically, he wrote this wonderful adventure campaign in Swedish for Drakar och Demoner called Svavelvinter, and that one I've played and replayed 10 times easily.
Wow.
Easily.
That's amazing. Let's get Adrian says, I'd love to see a book all about magic items and artifacts. Patty says, I'd love a book of battle maps from the Free League art team. That would be pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, we mainly design our games for theater of the mind
Yeah.
kind of play. On the other hand, working more and more towards VTTs, virtual tabletops, you need to produce cool battle maps for you to move around the screen, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, you can easily move around your figures even on a background image or something. But yeah, battle maps not a bad idea at all.
Patty also says, I really enjoyed the Ruins of Symbaroum books. The adventure setup sections for magic items and monsters are excellent. Thank you so much,
Oh,
Patty. Appreciate that.
thanks you. Yeah, actually, the for the monsters, they were a stretch goal in our Monster Codex Kickstarter in 2018, I think. So, and I'm super happy we reached that level because it really makes the book into something more when you have those. Even if you don't use those adventure setups, you know, as written,
Sure.
they set your mind working.
David Ross asks, any chance there will ever be a lore book or wiki for Symbaroum? I love the lore, but having to search through 7 books can be can be troublesome.
Well, I feel you, man. I'm, as I'm currently writing part 6 in the Throne of Thorns. I can tell you, I know all about searching through other books to, you know, yeah. I'm not a walking encyclopedia myself, so even
Sure.
I have to check stuff up. I mean, uh, at the moment, I I wish Free League had the resources to manage a kind of wiki or something like that. I mean, a lore book, yes, you will probably see something like that if we ever, you know. I'm thinking for Ruins of Symbaroum, maybe we will rearrange a little bit of the information that we now have spread through 7 books or 6 books, and
Sure.
have one book which is more like setting, at least, maybe not
Okay.
lore.
Right.
It's difficult. What you read and how you read it is an effect of the game line's organic growth. And yes, it is not the perfect way to, you know, take in all this information. I know that. And yeah, we have to come up with something smart. I would love a wiki myself, and maybe, you know, I have vacation weeks coming up. Maybe I can, you know, swing
Yeah.
something together.
You know, who wants to
My
actually enjoy, you
family,
know, yeah, you don't
my
need to enjoy your
family would
family
love
enough.
that.
Yeah. Thane steps it up another notch and says, how about Symbaroum Beyond? Of course,
Oh,
we know that there's a very big product that 5e players use. It's Beyond. Imagine
yeah,
having a Symbaroum Beyond. That would be,
or a free league beyond,
or Free League Beyond. That
rather.
would be, yeah.
Um, yeah, cool.
Looks like you've got some some immediate subscribers. If we put that, it would be, I'd be down for it. I would subscribe instantly. Yeah, so many people are all like, we've got so many folks
Yeah,
that are
this is super
thank you so much.
interesting, and
Yeah.
I'm just guessing now that those who say that come from the 5e community, maybe.
Ah.
Uh, I believe we have some of the backers and such of Ruins of Symbaroum here today, and I just want to say to you that the community around the original Symbaroum game, we know and have learned to love since many years back. But you who come in more from the 5e community, we need to learn to know. And and that is a process that will take a little while, I think, because since none of us at Free League, save Mattias Lilja, who is not in the house anymore, we don't play. We are not. We cannot honestly say that we are part of the 5e community. We don't play. We enjoy 5e. I actually had my colleagues down in Stockholm, Thomas and Costa and Nils, play some 5e a couple of weeks ago, and they were super excited afterwards. And Thomas came to me with a lot of, you need to remember this and this and this, and Jacob has to be mindful of blah blah blah, and it was super cool. And also Nils and Costa were really excited. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Adrian asks, are we going to get any awesome Symbaroum minis now that Ruins has come out?
I don't know if it has. It would be because Ruins have come out, but I hope we will see that quite soon. And this Sim, it feels very familiar, you and me, Doug, just sitting here shouting it out. But I will bite my tongue and say that what I can say that there are super exciting things happening in regards to Symbaroum that I cannot talk about just yet.
Sure.
And don't start guessing now, oh, is it a skirmish game or is it a blah, 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 because I won't give it away. Things are happening that are super cool. And I think that you will be quite happy of what's on the rise.
Excellent. Let's see here. Bill says, question: when producing Ruins of Symbaroum, what kinds of thoughts did you have about OG Symbaroum system or insights about the setting?
Do I understand that question?
While you were doing, what kinds of thoughts did you have about? Did you have any?
OG is original.
Original,
system?
Original.
Insights.
Did you have any? Did anything while you were producing Ruins of Symbaroum? Did it shed any light on anything that maybe you would have done different or would have changed with the OG Symbaroum system? I hope that's the question.
I think that makes sense. Well, as I wasn't very actively working on the conversion process, I cannot say that. On the other hand, I did a lot of the editing, or all of the editing actually. So nothing stands out like to me now, and I think maybe this is a question when we start looking at the 1.5, or even if we do, because it's time for a new reprint of the core book again. So those smaller stuff, the tweaks that just that we sometimes do between reprints, I really should have talked to Jacob and here, because he is really deep into both systems, and I'm guessing he has some thoughts on that. What became super clear is how neat it is to have everything collected into 3 books and have it,
Sure.
in this time we in the player's guide, which is kind of like what the core rule book for the original game is. There are no monsters in there. We have moved them to the bestiary, and it feels a lot cleaner. So that is something that maybe has even more, made it. It makes sense to make some kind of new edition, even if it's a soft one going forth.
Heath says, "Can we get an English translation translation
can't.
of the Symbaroum novels?" I think this gets asked pretty much just like the Coriolis core book cookbook gets asked in a lot of our Free League updates. I feel like this gets asked quite a bit, and I appreciate it every time it gets asked because I think it puts us on the spot. But
Thank
it's
you.
this
Thank you, Doug.
Mattias novels
I love it.
and having them translated to English.
Okay. It's still not totally off the table, but as I've said before, there are two things really that has made it difficult to make it happen so far. And the first thing is I am super particular when it comes to the language of the novels, much more so the prose, the much more so than the role-playing game books. So it's very much about finding a translator that really can capture that tone. And even if I did, I mean, Niklas is super good with the game books. I don't know if I would ever be able to, stop working on those translated manuscript and send them to print. So that is one thing. The other thing with these books is that they were written sort of they really don't capture the big faction play that is Symbaroum.
Sure.
The factions competing with each other. I wrote them very much from the forest floor, a point of view story that is mainly, I would say that maybe adolescent or something akin to the Dragonlance novels that I believe most of you know. So I don't know if I would one day write a real Symbaroum novel for the English audience that would, reflect what the IP and the setting and the lore stands for. It would probably be a little more, adult, maybe.
Okay.
So again, it's still not off the table completely. It may happen if I get the sense that I found a translator and also find a way to publish them that feels correct. Inside Free League, we are moving. We are not going to stop making books,
right?
But we also want to focus our efforts on the games, if that makes sense.
Does that make sense? Chris has a question, and we're going to wrap up here pretty soon because we're kind of coming up on time. But Chris says, "Is the Throne of Thorns the story you've always wanted to tell for Simran? How do you feel about it now that it's finishing? Is there more left, or is it time to move on?"
Yeah. This is a super complicated question to answer because is it the story I wanted? Yeah, it is. It is actually exactly the story that we designed the game to tell. It's not only that we designed the game and the setting, and then the story is one that takes place in that setting. But the game was actually designed to tell this particular story from day one. So yeah, that takes care of that. Second, how does it feel? I mean, it is mixed emotions, I must tell you. It is, I'm now literally at the final sprint towards the finish line. And it is getting harder and harder the closer I come. I see the finish line, and I know what it's going to look like when I get there.
Sure.
But these final few meters that I have left to run, they are pretty tough and filled of emotions. You know, it's part relief, part joy, part you know, kind of dread of feeling becoming separated from these characters that have followed me along for like 8 years now.
Right.
So yeah, it's actually emotional.
Sure. All right. Well, I think we've got most of the questions all taken care of. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the chat or in the comments, and we'll try to address them either on the next sim. Hopefully, there won't be such a big delay between this one and the next one. Just because we've been so busy, it's been crazy. We've been doing putting out so many different projects, and you know, it's really been awesome to see Free League, all the teams just kind of grow and put out some amazing stuff over these last few years. So
yeah, it's especially the last couple of years, or I should say from the merger and onwards, it has been a fantastic ride, and I'm not seeing us slowing down.
That's great. I'll mention to everyone that I will be at Origins later this week. So if anybody is headed to Origins, feel free to stop by the Free League booth. We will actually have copies of Ruins of Symbaroum at the booth. We'd be glad to show them off to you. And if you'd like to pick up a copy or two, feel free to do that. Mattias, you're coming over to Gen Con, I hear. And you just
I'm fresh home from UK Games Expo.
Yeah, how was that?
Which is maybe why I have a little difficulty focusing right now, because even if I don't feel it, because when I talk to you, Doug, it fills me with joy and energy. But I'm probably super tired right now.
Well, I appreciate.
I probably look it, you know. I'm
no,
also
I
super
wouldn't
old.
have guessed it. No.
I don't know if you heard. I turned 50 this year.
It keeps.
Yeah.
What is this? It says.
Yeah.
I gotta do something about these headphones. Thank you, Mattias, for giving your time. Thank you.
No, it was a pleasure as always.
Appreciate you. And
thank all of you who were here
you
listening and posting comments, and yeah, it means super much, giving me the strength to take my old body across these last few feet to the finish line.
Sure. Thank you so much. We'll see y'all next time. Bye now.